Welcome, everybody, to the Innings Podcast with Alec and Bradley. We are now part of the NGSE Sports Network. You know the website, ngsesports.com. On today's show, we are going to go over our predictions for the 2025 MLB season, which concurs with wins leaders a lot. So I think we should just jump into it and get started. And Bradley, we're going to do this by categories. So first is stolen bases. Who is your stolen base leader in the American League and the National League? I have a feeling I know who you're going to say for the National League. It's somebody we talked about last.
I was going to say that's Ellie De La Cruz. I think either him. And I'm trying to think of who else would be like again.
Acuna.
I don't even know. Acuna, yeah, I forgot about him. I mean, yeah.
Lindor?
The American League? Yeah, I would. Yeah, Lindor's on the. Yeah, I mean, Lindor could be one of those guys you could consider in the National League.
American League, there was a couple. I'll give you my American League first.
Go ahead.
Bobby Witt. I think Bobby Witt is more than capable of stealing 75 bases this year.
He's a stud. He's fun to watch.
I got to watch crazy, but I think he gets to 75 stolen bases.
Okay.
And then you said I have the same one for the National League. Ellie.
Yeah.
I think Ellie De La Cruz is going to steal one less base than Bobby Witt in a 74. So who do you have for the American League? Okay, here's the thing. I was torn between either Bobby Witt or picking somebody from the Rays, but I didn't want to be biased because I do have a lot of Rays in the rest of the awards.
Who did you have on? Who did you have for Tampa?
A guy that led the league in stolen bases last year, Caballero.
Oh, Caballero. Okay.
Because now they're talking about since he's probably not going to play shortstop next year. This year coming up, they're saying he might be a corner outfielder.
Yeah, you know what? I'll go with him. I'm an American League guy, so I'll go with him. But Bobby Witt Jr. He's a good pick, too. That's a good pick. Honestly, that's a good pick.
Who's your home run leader for the American and National League? This is another one I had big time problems with picking.
I'm going to pick Bobby Witt Jr.
for the American League.
American League.
How many home runs do you think he gets?
I'm going to say,
if you had to pick a number,
crystal ball, I'm going to say 45. Say he hits 45.
Okay.
So if he does 45, 75, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good season.
My home run leader in the American League is, and this is my first one for the Rays, Junior Caminero, because he's going to have a full season now. They can't send him back down. I think he hits 47 home runs.
Well, it's a new stadium, so yeah, you never know. They're not at the Trop this year, so you never know. Never know.
And then my National League is Matt Olson, and I think Matt Olson will hit 50.
Matt Olson. Okay, so I got to pick the National League. I'm trying to think who led the National League last year in home runs.
Olson was up there.
I forget who had the NL last year. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take Acuna because he'll be back. I know he's going to miss a month.
I know we're going to get dogged because neither of us said Ohtani or anybody from the Dodgers. Go ahead, clown us in the comments.
Speaking of the Dodgers, I read an article, either ESPN.com or something, that they're trying to, are you ready for this? They called Dodger Rule Baseball, because the Dodgers are getting all these guys. They have good pitching. They have all these good hitters. They're trying to Dodger Rule MLB baseball. Welcome to a new conjunction in MLB that lovely commissioner Rob Manfred has to deal with. But anyway, that's the. But yeah, no, those would be. I mean, to say Ohtani, to say, you know what? No, my bad. You know who I'm going to take for the National League? My fault. Juan Soto. I'm going to take Soto. He's a Met, new uniform. He's going to be the one that does it, and he'll hit 48, 49 home runs by the time the year's over.
I completely forgot about Soto.
Because he went to the National League, so I'll take Soto. I'll take Witt and Soto, respectively.
Okay. So, ERA leaders, National League. This one was pretty easy for me. Hunter Green of the Reds, and I think he's going to have what did I say? 2.04 ERA.
2.04 ERA?
And then the American League is going to be Shane McClanahan. I know he's probably going to be on a innings restriction since he's coming back from
Tommy John.
Yeah. But I think he has a 2.14 ERA. And again, clown me in the comments for my picks, but those are the two guys I have for ERA leader for bold predictions for 2025.
I'm going to, because we're going to name Cy Young, right, too, later on in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we're going to do?
Yes, we are.
I'm going to take the two guys that I had for Cy Young for the ERA leaders because, A, you're going to win a Cy Young. You don't have to win the ERA most times, and mostly it's wins. But I'm going to take Cole Regans of Kansas City, the Royals, and I'm going to take Justin Steele for the Cubs. In the National.
I forgot.
And
that slipped on. That was in the edge of my brain. I'm like, Justin Steele.
And you know who we didn't name, bud? You know who we didn't name in the National League?
Ohtani.
How about Paul Skeens? First full year, right? This is his second full year. So again,
first
because
he came up middle of last year.
And
yeah, we both that completely slipped both of our brains that Paul Skeens is there.
Paul Skeens, yeah. Did you see the haul that they're going to give that kid that found his card? Did you see that? What they're going to give him? The Pirates want that card that the kid found. It's a signed autograph card for Paul Skeens. It's his rookie card. They're giving him 2 season tickets behind home plate. Ready for this? For 30 years. 30 years. He is also
Time out. You got to be kidding me.
No, I'm not. You can look it up. 30 years of season tickets behind home plate for the Pirates. He gets 2 signed jerseys by Paul Skeens, and I think he gets some kind of other. I think the seats have access to club level where he gets food. The kid's 11 years old, so it makes sense. You think he's 11, 30 years, he'll be in his 40s. So how memories would that be to grow up and say, yeah, I'm the kid who found the Paul Skeens card. I got 30 years of behind the home plate seats. So
Okay, so now we get to the wins leaders in the American League and National League for pitchers. I will take the honors of going first here. For the American League, and I know I'm going to get clowned for this, but I'm going with somebody from the Detroit Tigers. It's not the person you're thinking of. It's not Casey Mize. It's not Matt Manning. I don't think they touch what this guy's going to do. Tarek Skubal. I think Tarek Skubal wins 20 games this year. Okay. And then in the National League, yes, there's Paul Skeens. There's Shohei Ohtani. There's Justin Steele. There's all these guys. I'm going with the guy that just signed with the Diamondbacks. Corbin Burns. Dang, Corbin Burns will win 24 games. Because he doesn't have the pressure
24 games and he'll be
because, and here's my reasoning. And I thought about this all yesterday when I was doing this. I'm like, because if you noticed in Baltimore, he had a lot of pressure on him because he was pitching with a lot of young guys in that rotation. Look at Arizona's rotation. There's maybe one or two young guys in that rotation, and Brandon Pfaadt and Bryce Jarvis. The rest are vets.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Burns, you've got Jordan Montgomery, you've got Eduardo Rodriguez, and he's going to be at the top of that rotation, going every fifth day. He's probably going to get the start opening day. But let me hear who your two guys are for wins leaders.
You know what? I'm gonna go with a former Boston Red Sox who revolutionized his career in Atlanta.
Chris Sale.
He led last year. I think he'll lead it again this year. And I agree with you, Bud, with Corbin Burns. I also, the Orioles took another shot when they lost Santander to the Blue Jays. You alluded to a division rival. That
Wait
really
a minute.
hurts.
Wait a minute. Time out. Didn't we call that?
Yeah. One of the free agents we talked about that was going to sign, and I think because it's hard when you sign within your division. It's like in football, or like, for example, I know this would never happen, but some kids at Ohio State, he transfers to Michigan. Like, you don't see that happening very often. Like, you don't go to the rival team, but it happens more in baseball than any sport, in my opinion. But I'm going to take Chris Sale. I'm going to say he wins 19 games this year. And you pick Skubal, right, for the American League?
Yep.
Is that who you had it for your American League guy?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm looking at them now. I'm going to go on a long limb. I'm going to say Seth Lugo of the Royals. I think he wins 18 games this year. I'm going to go with Seth Lugo.
Okay,
Kansas City's going to be on the up. They're far out there.
Yeah. Okay, so saves. So we've done ERA, home runs, stolen bases. Now we get to the guys that come in the ninth inning and close the game out. So who do you have leading the league in saves this year in the American League and the National League? For me, it was really hard because I wanted to say Pete Fairbanks, but I don't feel like the Rays are going to win a lot of games, but I don't feel like, because the problem with Fairbanks is he can't stay healthy for a whole season.
Well, I was just going to say that, but he got hurt. I was at the game last year when he got hurt. When he got hurt, he threw the ball forward, and then all of a sudden you saw him stop, and then he paused, and then all of a sudden you saw him like have this groin area, and you're like, oh boy, like, oh no. And they came out to the mound, and he threw a pit. They're like, no, you're not. So yeah, it's going to be hard for him. But again, it's interesting how players come back from injury. Like before, it was like, oh, it's going to be a year off. They're back in 6 months. Medicine has come a long way, especially in the sports world, with how quickly athletes heal compared to what it used to be.
Here are my two guys to lead the league in saves.
Go ahead.
First one, he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. He's on the Orioles, and when he was on top of his game before he got injured, he was filthy. You can't fastball at 100 miles an hour, slider / curveball that just disappeared. Felix Bautista. And I feel like he's going to save. This is an outlandish number, but I think it's possible because the Orioles, I think, are still going to be good this year. I think he saves 64 games.
Wow.
Big number.
Because the saves leader last year only had 49. Oh, my Lord. Wow. Okay.
And then in the National League, and this guy's going kind of under the radar because the Cubs don't have a closer. And this guy got some save opportunities at the end of the year last year. Porter Hodge. Look up the name. look up his pitch mix, look up his stuff plus numbers on Baseball Savant. I think he's going to save 43 games for the Cubs this year and be their primary closer. Like I said, he's going under the radar. Nobody's really talking about him. All the chatters about Felix Bautista, Raisel Iglesias, David Bednar, all those guys. Nobody's talking about Porter Hodge.
I'm going to take in the American. I'm going to take Josh Hader of the Astros. I'm going to say he's going to save 40 games this year.
Why did I forget about
in the National League? I'm going to take let me see. I'm going to take Alex Diaz. In the middle, like right at 5 all year long, but he'll be one of the reasons why into the season they're right around 500. So I'm gonna take.
So you got Hader and Diaz. I completely forgot about Josh Hader. Okay, so now we get to...
I mean,
unless you're what?
Go, bud.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, unless you're a fan of the Astros, I mean, the cheaters, as they're called, as they're labeled, but the Red Sox did a cheating thing too, so, it is what it is.
Yep. So, Rookie of the Year. Who do you have for Rookie of the Year in the American League and National League? This one was another one that was a little... American League was easy for me. National League was the hard one.
Okay. I'm going to go... I hate to be a homer, but I'm going to go with Roman Anthony of the Red Sox.
You know what? I could have done the same thing and got my Caminero from the Rays, but I'm trying to be the least biased I can be.
And I'm going to go with a pitcher in the National League. I'm going to go with Bubba Chandler of the Pirates for the National League Rookie of the Year.
I completely... So, my National League Rookie of the Year, and this is the guy we've talked about a couple times on the show. He's on the Diamondbacks. He's gotten 2 or 3 little stints in the big leagues. And I think if he wasn't hurt last year, like I've said, and you can count how many times I've talked about him, Jordan Lawler. Okay. Gerardo Perdomo's time in Arizona is, I'm sorry, but they should DFA him, and he needs to find a new home somewhere else. Jordan Lawler needs to be the everyday shortstop. If you look at this kid, he's got a great arm. It's not as... he's got probably the 4th or 5th best arm for a shortstop. He's not in the top 2 because that's where Ellie and O'Neal Cruz are. But, and then American League for me was kind of easy, and it's a guy that's going to get a lot of playing time for the Orioles this year. Kobe Mayo, who got a small sample size in the big leagues last year, but he was blocked. Like, he didn't get a lot of at-bats. But with the moves the Orioles have made over the offseason, losing Santander, losing a couple other guys, I think you're going to see Kobe Mayo be the Rookie of the Year in the American League.
Yeah, actually, but I'm looking at the list that I have that I went by, and Kobe Mayo is on this list, and so is Jordan Lawler. So both of them are on the list. But the guy that they have winning the National League is Dylan Cruz, the outfielder for the Washington Nationals. That's who they have favored to win the year in the NL.
See how hard it was to pick for the National League? You have Jordan Lawler, Dylan Cruz, James Wood, Bubba Chandler, maybe another guy from the Pirates and Braxton Ashcraft.
It's a tough... That's it. The National League, being that we're both American League fans, the National League is hard because I don't watch a lot of National League baseball. I don't personally. I don't watch a lot.
I try. Like I get the MLB package.
Mm-hmm.
Like I buy it through MLB.com. And the only team I don't get is the Rays because obviously we're in
Florida, local. Yeah.
So you get everybody else. And sometimes I watch the Marlins, but again, what's the point of watching the Marlins? And people say to not get off track, but people say the Rays have bad attendance. Turn on a Marlins game.
Yeah, no, the Marlins.
No offense, Marlins fans, but
give us a comment because you know they're going to do that. Marlins fans are going to do that. You know that's going to happen.
Yes, they are because everybody says, "Oh, the Rays have horrible attendance." Turn on a Marlins game this year and count on one hand how many fans are in that stadium. Because one, it is in a horrible part of Miami. And Miami ownership, if you're watching this, please take us up on moving the stadium somewhere where it is safe to play and there's not complete chaos going on. But back to our prediction. So now we get to the Cy Young. And American League Cy Young for me was kind of easy. I went with Casey Mize of the Tigers. Since I went with Scooble earlier, I thought I'd go with his teammate Casey Mize. Okay. Now I could be I'm going to say that's a fishing line that I'm throwing out and seeing if anything bites on it. Because then again, it could be somebody completely different. It could be Cole Reagans, maybe an outside shot. It could be one of the guys from the Rays, like Pepio or Boz or McClanahan, or maybe Garrett Crochet. And in the National League, I got a guy that I said was going to lead the league in ERA. He's going to win the Cy Young. That is Hunter Green.
Okay.
So who do you have winning the Cy Young in the American League and National League?
I have Cole Reagans for the Royals, and I have Justin Steele of the Cubs. Or those are my two that I mentioned earlier. Those are my two that I have.
There I go again. Two guys I completely forgot about. And watch this. Both of them are going to have a fantastic season and make me regret not picking them for wins leaders and ERA and Cy Young. There's your ticket, Cole Reagans and Justin Steele. Have a great season.
Well, speaking, you were talking earlier, Bud, about Pepio and all them. Why does his name escape me? One of the Rays starting pitchers tonight. Why does
Littell?
No, not Littell. I saw him pitch like 3 or 4 times last year, and I'm trying to get the Rays.
Taj Bradley.
There you go, Taj Bradley. He's a pitcher that no matter what, the kid could be struggling, but somehow he finds a way.
He finds a way to get out of jams, to get out of messes. I mean, he may walk 3 or 4 batters per game, but he finds a way to strike people out. He's very deceptive, but if you look at his metrics and his pitch speed, he's overpowering, but not like a Paul Skeens, not a Cole Reagans, not Justin Steele, not Shohei.
But he has ice cold. He's ice cold in his veins. He doesn't let anything get to him. And as far as like the walk thing, perfect games are going to be non-existent here soon. If we see a perfect game this year, I will be shocked. No hitters.
I will too.
No hitters are starting to become almost irrelevant as well, which sucks because I always ask that question to baseball fans is, would you rather sit through a home run barrage or a perfect game if the perfect game is against your team? Which game would you rather sit through? Would you rather watch the ball leave the ballpark, home runs everywhere, runs scored, or would you rather sit through a perfect game where there's no runs? Nobody
Mhm.
gets these.
So now we get to our bold predictions for our favorite teams, the Rays and the Red Sox. And I will give you the honors of going first with your bold predictions for the Red Sox.
They win the American League East. That's my first bold prediction. They made some moves. They got stronger in the rotation. Yeah, I think I think their player is going to win Rookie of the Year this year. So that's my first bold prediction is that they win the division. I know that's going to be hard because Baltimore is good, New York is good, which
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
So I've already seen people making their way too early like standings predictions for the American League and the National League. And when they get to the American League East, and I want to know what you think. I find it foolish that these people are putting the Rays in last place, in fifth place.
No, I'm sorry, and I'm not even a Rays fan, but I'm telling you right, no way. They're too good. At worst, third or fourth. At worst case scenario, because
And they
the
have
Blue Jays aren't that good.
So fourth, they have Baltimore. Third, they have the Blue Jays. Second, the Yankees, and Red Sox in first.
So they think
Toronto's
a third place team. Tell me how that makes any sense.
They didn't, other than Santander, they did nothing with the rotation.
Nope.
They did nothing in the way of getting a big time outfield bat. Santander is not a big time outfielder. He is a lefty masher at best, even though he's a switch hitter. They just traded one of their depth pitchers to the Rays and Brandon Easert for a player to be named later, which we always love those trades because we don't know who the player to be named later is or cash considerations, which then again, why can't you just tell us who the player to be named later is? Because we know it's not one of the big prospects.
No, it'll be some guy that is called up from AAA or a guy that they want to get rid of. Yeah, it'll be one of those type of guys. Yeah.
But and then how in the world is Baltimore going to finish fourth? I understand they did lose a lot, but
they have two of the best young and up and coming players. How in the world are you going to? Why? Because they lost Corbin Burns. Come on, man. And like you said, Santander, yeah, he's a big bat, but they have a lot of big bats in that lineup.
We completely forgot about Heston Kierstad or Colton Cowser.
Yeah. So
Kierstad's going to get more at bats.
How they have Baltimore in fourth is shocking to me. Shocking to me that I would say if anything, it's
Toronto,
Boston, New York, Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Toronto. And the only reason I say Tampa Bay is because they're not going to be playing at Tropicana Field. They're not able to spend as much money as they would have had during free agency. Hopefully next year, because the city wants to have the stadium reopened by the 2026. Next year, they'll be able to spend more money in free agency.
And you know what I saw? That irked me. They were going to be a front runner for Sasaki if they didn't lose Tropicana Field.
I saw that, but I heard that on the radio. Yep, that is correct. He wanted to come here because he wanted to come to a smaller market, and he thought that Tampa Bay was the best because of what pieces they had in place for him to come to make the move from Japan to the MLB. Yep, that's what I heard too.
Yep, but back to bold predictions. So continue with yours
for the Red Sox. I have them winning the American League. Another bold prediction would be Alex Cora wins Manager of the Year. In the American League, I know that's gone to Kevin Cash the last few seasons, and he deserves it because every other day the lineup is different, and the man somehow they win. I mean, I know they struggled last year, but previous he put a lineup together. Outside of that, with them having the Rookie of the Year, winning the American League East, Manager of the Year, do I think they're a World Series team? No, I don't. I really don't. I don't think, not yet. It's another year or two before I would consider them a World Series team. But I would say they'll get to the postseason, they'll lose in the divisional round or in the championship series, one of the two. I don't think they'll make it to the World Series, and that's my bold prediction for the Red Sox.
Those are all your bold predictions.
Mm-hmm.
So let me get to the Rays. And the first one is quite a bold prediction. I think that Josh Lowe has a 30 home run, 30 stolen base season, and he cuts down on his strikeout rate and cuts it down to 14% and ups his walk rate. And Rays fans, because I know there is some of you that watch the show, you can, and Bradley, you can chime in if you want to, because you do write for the Rays.
I do.
I think Josh Lowe, like I said, cuts his strikeout rate down to 14% and hires his walk rate to an astounding 34%.
Okay.
So that's bold prediction uno. Bold prediction number 2 is I think Shane McClanahan, and people might turn their head at this, I think he's going to strike out 240 batters.
Horns up, he's a bull. He's a bull.
Yes, horns up. And personally, the last one, my favorite one, is Johnny DeLuca, because he's going to get more playing time now with Jose Siri in New York with the Mets, which good luck to you, Jose, because you're probably going to be the everyday center fielder in New York with them trying to get rid of Starling Marte. But I think Johnny DeLuca has a breakout season and finishes as because I do fantasy baseball, finishes as a top 40 outfielder in fantasy baseball.
Okay.
And now we will give y'all our bold predictions for Manager of the Year. And Bradley, go ahead and go first.
Well, I already said, I said Alex Cora for the American League. But for the National League, I'm going to take Craig Counsell of the Cubs. I think, again, Alec has talked about the Cubs in the past, about them ascending. I think they will. So I'm going to say Craig Counsell of the Mets wins the National League Manager of the Year.
So my 2 managers of the year just happen to both be former Red Sox. One is currently the manager of the Red Sox, so that would be my American League Manager of the Year, Alex Cora. I like what the Red Sox have done this offseason. I do think there's still a couple more moves out there that they can make, like getting a guy to pitch in the 9th inning, unless you want to put somebody else that's currently on the roster in the closer role.
Well, Jensen's getting older, so that's going to be something they're going to have to, look at.
My question is, did Jansen pick up his option for 2025?
I haven't heard yet, but that's a good question. Let me look that up real quick, because I'm not sure.
Because if he didn't, I have 2 ideas that I would like to pitch to Red Sox fans, including you. And the first one is, what about maybe putting Brian Bayo as the closer? Because your rotation is, you've got too many guys for too few spots in the rotation.
That's a possibility. Let's see. No, it looks like it says Cubs eyeing bullpen boost with Kinsley Jansen. Huh.
So he didn't pick up his option.
Nope. And then it says he's also not against going back to LA to be with the Dodgers.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, so
Like
now
the Dodgers
with
need
that,
anybody else.
well, Brian Bayo, I got to see Bayo pitch against the Red. The funny thing about when I first got to for the Rays last year, the very first series was against the Red Sox, and I'm like, oh great, I get to watch both teams that I like in the American League face off against each other at Tropicana Field. I don't know if you put because the thing with Brian Bello is he walks too many guys. I don't know if you want to put him in the closer role. You don't want to walk people because you're trying to keep runs off the board. I don't know about him. Who else? What did you say you wanted to throw into the closer role?
Maybe a guy like Brian Mata.
Mata would make more sense to me than Bello. Mata would make more sense to me. We'll find out what in the next month or couple weeks when they report to spring training. But yeah, it'll be I could
Brandon, if he's still on the team, Brandon Bernardino.
I think I'd go with Mata because Bernardino is another guy that's a question too. So
What about a guy y'all got in the Rule 5 draft last year, Justin Slayton?
Again, options. We've for the first time in a long time we've got options, which we haven't had, for a while. So that's what's good about the Red Sox this year is we have options to throw guys into these roles that we did in the past. So,
or would you just do a closer by committee until somebody takes the wheel?
Honestly, with Alex Cora, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he does to start the season until someone steps up into that role and takes it over, moving into the season.
So then my National League Manager of the Year is a guy that was with the Guardians for a while after leaving Boston. And Red Sox fans know him very well. He led him to a World Series. And he just came out of retirement to manage the Cincinnati Reds. Terry Tito
Francona.
That is my choice for Manager of the Year in the National League because, again, the Reds are another team that they've made some moves over the offseason, but those moves have gone kind of been swept under the table because you've got all these bigger teams making moves.
Right.
Like the Brewers losing Corbin Burns, getting rid of Devin Williams, which we never ever talked about. Devin Williams going to the Yankees.
Yeah, and they also lost Willie Adames too. So that's three big cogs.
Yeah, three
big cogs the Brewers lost.
But they are getting Brandon Woodruff back. But what version of Brandon Woodruff are you going to get? Are you going to get pre-injury Brandon Woodruff, or are you going to get post-injury Brandon Woodruff? That's the big. And same thing with the Mets with Kodai Senga. Which version of him are you going to get? Are you going to get the guy that you first got when he first came over from Japan, or are you going to get the guy that missed basically all of last year with injury? So then, now we get to our bold predictions for trades to happen because there is still some time in the offseason, but I'm looking ahead to my crystal ball has gone to July 31st, 2025. What trades can you see happening?
I'm going to start with Bo Bichette being traded to the Atlanta Braves.
Ooh.
That's one of them.
What would the return look like for Bichette? Would the Braves have to give up any of their top 10 prospects?
It looks like from what I gathered on my notes, but that they are talking. Let's see here, long term. Because the reason that they want to dump him is because they're talking about getting a long term for Vladdy Guerrero Jr. So that's another reason why they want to get rid of Bichette, because to get his salary off of their books. But why do I not see anything back in return?
If you had So you put the trade together. What would the return look like for Bichette?
I would say
back
it's
to Toronto.
It's got to be top prospects. It's not going to be. I would say draft picks, and again, I know baseball's different with the draft because they have like 100 rounds of drafting.
Well, no, I think it's 20 rounds now. It used to be 30, but
so I mean,
they've cut it down to 20.
Yeah, I mean, like, is it football and football and basketball and hockey? It's quick and easy and done. But it's going to be top prospects going back for him. I don't know if the Braves would give up, a starting player that they have now that the Jays would want back in return for Bichette. The other one that I had, but I had two, and this one's going to shock you. You were just talking about these two teams. We were just talking about these two teams. The Tampa Bay Rays trade Yandy Diaz to the Cincinnati Reds. So,
you know what? I wouldn't hate that because I'm also a Reds fan because I grew up in Ohio.
Okay. But
the only issue with that is where would Yandy play? Because the Reds already have a first baseman. Would they put him at DH?
I would say they probably DH him and then he'd play first base when their starting first baseman was out or whatever. Double headers, stuff like that.
The thing is, I don't think the Reds have a third baseman.
You can play third base too.
Or maybe you move, because I have seen on because I play MLB The Show, and it says that Yandy can play second base. Would you move a guy like Matt McLean over to third base and put Yandy with his sure-handed defense at second?
Next to Ellie De La Cruz at short. Yeah, that would be. I wouldn't mind that for Tito. For Tito Francona. I would not mind that at all.
See, the thing is, what would the return be for Yandy? Because he's on the wrong side of 30.
I would. The only thing, I mean, obviously, the Rays are not.
And I would think, as a Reds fan talking here, we would probably be hesitant to give up like one of our top 5 prospects. Should probably have to be somebody that's like 6, 7.
Well, how about this? How about they just exchange first baseman? Yandy Diaz for Christian
Encarnacion Strand.
Yeah, they just switch first base.
Okay, younger first base. Yeah, because I mean, I feel like CES. Feel like he'd do better in Tampa than he's done in Cincinnati. Because Cincinnati.
But then again, why would Cincinnati want to go older at a position where they're pretty young within the infield?
My theory is maybe they think they can win the NL Central.
That would be and there's a bold prediction right there. That would be great. That would be awesome to see them win the NL Central this year.
Now we get to our bold predictions for playoffs. And
playoffs.
Talk about playoffs.
Playoffs.
I'll let you have the honors of going first here.
Now, obviously, everyone out there is going to want to say it's going to be LA and New York. Everyone out there is going to say that.
No, so we're doing World Series is last. We're doing NL and AL playoff, and you're picking seeds, who gets the 3 wild cards.
Oh, okay. Hang on, because I had it set up for.
Oh, and let me tell you my 2 trades while we're waiting.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've got the Blue. I've got the Blue Jays trading Vlad Jr. to the Yankees for Marcus Stroman.
Okay.
And that's my 2 trades. Because I couldn't really think of any other big name guys other than maybe Jordan Montgomery, but I doubt the Diamondbacks would trade him. So, since do you have yours up for playoffs?
I'm still looking, bud. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'll go first with my
Go ahead.
playoffs. So in the American League, the East Division champ, I have the Red Sox, and they get the 1 seed. 2 is going to be 2 seed Central Division champ is the Guardians. And yes, I know the Guardians did kind of lose a little bit, but I still think the Guardians are. And if you look at their farm system, they've got some really good prospects coming up. So I think they're going to be the second team, the number 2 seed in the American League. Number 3 seed, the division champs of the AL West. No, it is not the Mariners. No, it is not the Astros. And no, it surely is not the Oakland or Sacramento.
Vegas. Yeah.
Sacramento Athletics. It is the team that won the World Series, not this year, not this past year, but the year before, the Texas Rangers. And then my wild card teams, number 1 wild card goes to the Tampa Bay Rays. For all those people out there saying the Rays are going to miss the playoffs and finish last, may I ask politely, what planet are you living on? And what kind of fun stuff are you on? And please give me some. I would love some. Number 2. Number 2.
Oh. That's okay. Keep going. I didn't mean to laugh, but I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you laugh. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you laugh.
Fine. Number 2 wild card in the American League is, of course, the New York Yankees. You can't leave the Yankees out of the playoffs. You just can't.
We would love to see that happen.
But we just know that's never going to happen. If it did, Aaron Boone would probably get fired.
Correct.
And so would Brian Cashman. And the number 3 wild card in the American League is everybody's darling team going into 2025, the Detroit Tigers. And now I get to the National League.
Okay.
And it seems my math ain't math in here in the National League East. Because you'd think I'd have the Braves as the number 1 seed. That's where you would be incorrect. My number 1 seed and the winners of the National League East, the Philadelphia Phillies. The number 2 seed in the National League and the winners of the NL Central, the Cincinnati Reds. My number 3 seed in the least favorite team and winning the NL West, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yes, I'm sorry, Dodgers fans. I'm not enthused about y'all winning the NL West. Wild card number 1. Everybody's darling team in the National League. And no, it's not the Reds since I had them winning the Central. It is the Arizona Diamondbacks. And their new high-paid prized possession, Corbin Burns. Number 2 wild card is another team from said NL Central Division. No, not the Brewers. No, not the Cardinals. It is somebody that Bradley talked about earlier.
The Cubbies.
Yes, the Chicago Cubs. And last but not least, sorry, Braves fans, but I think you're going to get the 3rd wild card spot and just sneak into the playoffs. And no, you will not make a deep run this time. You will see who my World Series predictions are for this year in a minute after Bradley gives his playoffs for the NL and AL.
So the American League, the East, I talked about the Red Sox, so I think they will win I don't know if they'll be the number 1 seed. I'll say 2 seed for them. I think the team that wins the most in the American League is the Central champion Guardians. I don't like to call them that because I grew up them as the Indians, but
So did I.
the Guardians, I think will be the number 1 seed. I think Boston will be number 2. The winner of the AL West, I'm going to agree with Alec. I think the Rangers bounce back. They had a rough year last year, but they have a lot of talent on that team. I don't understand what Texas is. You had the advantage of playing baseball outside and using that heat in July, August, and September to wear down teams, and you moved indoors. I don't fathom why you did that, but
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't get it either.
you had the advantage of the heat factor. Why not hold on to that? Because the teams that are not used to the heat, it would have made more sense to me. So then we have 3 wild card teams. I'm going to say the 3 wild card teams. I'm going to go with Detroit, the Tigers. I'm going to go with the
Royals?
I'm going to go out on a long limb here and say the Minnesota Twins. I'm going to say
After
the Twins.
cutting payroll?
I'm getting. Hey, it miracles happen, and of course I can't leave out.
Yes.
I can't leave out the Yankees, even though I hate them with every ounce of my being. Being a Red
So
Sox,
do I.
being a Red Sox fan,
As a
watching
Rays fan, I don't like them either.
Aaron Boone hit the home run off of Tim Wakefield after I was staying up till 2:00 in the morning really didn't sit well with me. So yes, and I've been a Yankee hater most of my life anyway. So those are my teams in the American League.
I noticed an absent team in there.
Go ahead.
The Rays.
The Rays will be just short of one of the wild card spots, and the only reason, like I said, is I don't know how they're going to overcome the lack of power in that lineup. They don't have, they lost Siri. Rosarena's not there. DeLuca can hit it. I know Brandon Lau, when he can hit the ball, can hit it out.
Josh Lowe
hit it out. But I mean, again, if you shut those guys down, and
Junior
Caballero's
Caminero
is another one that can hit the ball. It's that those are my only questions, is if they can get their bats going early on during the season, because the pitching we know is going to be there. We know that. You get McClanahan back, the pitching will be there as it always has been for them the past, decade? I mean, you can go back 10 years, back to – but I think they just fall just a tad short of a wild card spot. And I could be totally wrong, and they could overtake the Twins for that final wild card spot because, like you said, they cut payroll. I'm just going to go out on a limb and throw a team out there that no one thinks is going to make it. And the Twins could finish dead last in the AL Central this year. So that could be me eating my words come October.
Yeah. Because we have a new one of these podcasts every week.
Yeah. Could be eating my words late in the season. I'm going to agree with Alec on the NL East. The Phillies, first of all, the Atlanta Braves can't beat the Phillies in the playoffs. Like that, the Phillies have.
That's what we like to call having ownership of a team.
Yeah, they have.
All right, Braves fans,
to beat the Braves in there. I think
the only key for me. Can I chime in for a second? So the only issue I had with picking who was going to win the NL East was I forgot about the Mets.
Well, I have the Mets as one of my wild card teams, so I would put them in that equation because Steve Cohen has, his pockets are bottomless, so he can go out and
he has an infinity stone of money.
Yeah, so
to quote a movie. Guardians of the Galaxy. No, that wasn't Guardians of the Galaxy. That was
Infinity War.
Avengers Infinity War. Thanos. He's the Thanos of MLB. He has all the money in the world.
All the Infinity Stones. Yep. Yeah, so I have Phillies winning the National League East. I agree. I agree with Alec. I think the Reds are going to be the surprise team. I think they win the NL Central. And I'm going to go on a huge limb and say this is the year of the San Diego Padres. They're going to win the AL West. They're going to, and I'm sorry, NL West. My apologies. And the only reason I say that is the Dodgers have so many good players. Something's going to go wrong. Someone's going to get injured. Something's going to go wrong for them this year.
Then again, guys, listen here. We don't wish
no injury upon anybody. Not at all. No, I
Nope.
don't wish injury upon anybody. Now, I'm not saying the Dodgers are going to miss the playoffs because the Dodgers will be one of the wild card teams. And my other wild card would be the Diamondbacks. So that's who I have in the National.
3 NL West teams in the playoff.
Correct. That's because I think the Central outside of Chicago and Cincinnati will be them, and then it's the Braves, Mets, and the Phillies, the Nationals, and the Marlins. And I don't,
Well, I mean, the Nationals, we're not even talking about them. They could come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They could pull a 2019 and win the whole darn thing.
Win the World Series, yeah.
With all the young talent they have, I wouldn't put it past them. Davey Martinez, former Ray.
Yep, former bench coach. Yep, under Joe Madden.
And did you see the little tidbit of news that came out the other day? Guess who's back in Tampa in a front office role?
Evan Longoria.
Nope. Our beloved Ozzie Timmons.
Really? Okay.
Yep. After being with the Brewers for 3 years. I'm going to miss Ozzie being on the bench, though. He was one of the best hitting coaches the Rays ever had. He brought energy to the bench. And saying that for a guy that's on the coaching staff, that's when that's the best thing that happens during a Rays game. Oh, is there? And we're both Rays fans, so we can kind of put our whatever you want to call it, our ducks in a row. Right. But now we get to the teams we think are going to be in the World Series and maybe win the World Series. And Bradley, you have the honors of going first.
Okay, so the two teams that will be in the World Series for me this year.
You get to pick. I have 3 different matchups on here, so you get to pick 3 different matchups, and it can be the same teams or it can be different teams.
I'm gonna go with Phillies Guardians as one of my picks. I'm going to
and explain a little bit why, because I'm going to do the same thing when I do.
Well, again, those are the respectable division winners in the Central, in the American League, and then in the East, in the National League. They're just those teams. I think the Guardians would have been there last year had they not lost, what they lost, with losing a starting pitcher. I think they're there. And the Phillies, I mean, they're always there. Like Philadelphia, just like since they got Bryce Harper and that lineup is loaded. They've got good pitching. I think, again, and we all know pitching wins championships. We hear that every year. The Phillies are set for that reason. So that's the reason why I think those two will get there. The next one, let's see. I'm going to go and say, let's see. Wow. I'm trying to remember now who I picked the Reds. I just don't think the Red Sox are going to make it to the World Series. I don't know why.
I mean, you could throw it out there and see if it sticks to the dartboard.
San Diego and Boston, maybe. I mean, those would be 2 out on the limb teams because I know LA and New York were in there last year, and those are the respectable teams that could be back there this year. I just don't want to have the same 2 teams in there again. There needs to be some more parity in baseball than just the same teams every year. And again, I know you're talking to a Red Sox fan. Yes, I know we won a bunch of World Series after 2004. I'm aware of that. But what I'm saying is get out of the narrative of LA and New York and everything. So San Diego and Boston, And I'm going to go with a rematch of 2 years ago, Texas and Arizona. A rematch 2 years ago. And I'm going to, just because, again, those two teams are under the radar. They didn't have very good seasons last year. So I'm going to go under the radar and say they're going to somehow magically get back again to the World Series.
Okay, here's mine. So the first one is a rematch of 2020, the Rays and the Dodgers. And obviously, I think in this case, the Rays would get their revenge for the Mickey Mouse title the Dodgers won in 2020 when they still had Justin Turner and he had the virus and still played, and we found out halfway through the game that he had the virus.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. And the last two involve the Tigers. The first one is Tigers and Cubs.
Okay.
Tell me people wouldn't be sitting on their couch waiting for the World Series to start, and people ask, "Oh, who's in the World Series?" And somebody says, "Oh, it's the Detroit Tigers and the Chicago Cubs."
Two old teams. Those are very
two
old
school teams
mm-hmm.
that haven't had very much success. I mean, and the Cubs I think the Cubs, if I'm not mistaken, have won a World Series recently.
Yeah, they won in 2016.
Yes. No, 17.
Yeah,
17.
They beat the Indians before they became the
at
Guardians.
the time.
And
then the last one, the Braves fans. Oh, and I think if the Tigers and Cubs was the World Series, I think the Tigers win the World Series there.
Cool.
And then my last one is the Braves and the Tigers. Again, two old school teams. And Hank Aaron, who's up in heaven right now, he's probably smiling down saying, "Thank you to the people of the 9 Innings Podcast for mentioning me and saying the Braves and the Tigers would be in the World Series." And to put a cherry on top, I would not mind seeing the Atlanta Braves win another World Series.
Be good for Atlanta.
It would. Do you have any other bold predictions for the 2025 season?
I do not, but I wish we could look into the future in a crystal ball and see if any of these things actually happen. But again, we're not that far.
Then again, we're not. And
so
every week we have two of these on Thursday. Right now it's just one because the season hasn't started, ladies and gentlemen. But once the season gets going, every Thursday and Friday at 5:30, we will have an episode of the 9 Innings Podcast where we talk about everything that's going on in baseball. And we have our final episode of the season of the college football podcast until August. And you're not going to want to miss it because we're giving out awards. We're giving out teams that overachieved, teams that were disappointing. It's basically a wrap-up of 2024. Look ahead to 2025. And you'll get to see both of our wonderful insights on college football and our award picks and a lot more on that show. Maybe even a couple more laughs out of us, just like you saw tonight.
Yeah, that was cool. That was awesome. So, yes, that would be good.
Again, we are part of the NGSE Sports Network. You know the website, ngscsports.com. And for Bradley and Alec, we are signing off for the night. We will see everybody next Tuesday for another Wrestling is Awesome podcast episode on YouTube and Twitch.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.